between you and me, right where you are right in this moment, is exactly where you were meant to be. So, wherever that may be, just be.
To be a new you.
Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to the Joygasmic Life Podcast.
Your permission slip to raise your standards and live an even more amazing life. Now, if you're feeling like that's way out of the ball game and you're really suffering with like pain in your body, guilt, shame, anxiety, depression, like these emotions run a lot of people's lives, and that's not by accident. Our culture is set up to keep us in those emotions because it's easier to control people when they're in those emotions. But if you're on an awakening journey and you have recognized that those are there, you have taken the most crucial step to get out of that, which is to become aware that it's actually happening. It's time to awaken, to bring all the parts of yourself back to this present moment and explore the joy that is your life when you live full out, fully expressed, fully harnessing the joygasmic potential of your body and yourself. Anything is possible, and especially we are here to tell you that deep and fulfilling love is possible and is available for you when you choose that for yourself.
Okay, so we would start making that pleasure state stronger, 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 and stronger. And then we would tie it to something. Okay, so we could tie it to every time that you say yes to one of my questions, you're going to feel this wonderful pleasure state. Okay, is that okay for you?
Yes.
How'd that feel?
Giddy.
Okay. Now, each and every time that you respond with yes, you'll instantly feel a wave of this wonderful erotic pleasure. Is that okay for you?
Yes.
Okay. Did you feel that wave?
Yep.
Good. Okay. Now we're gonna tie it all together. Okay. Do you like to feel pleasure?
Yes.
Did you feel that wave of pleasure right there? Perfect. Working.
I love
All
my
right.
wonderfully vulnerable work. It's so wonderfully vulnerable.
Now that we've done this, okay, by the way, you're a wonderful subject because this would normally take about 15 minutes to get to where you are. And we're compounding. So we're making this stronger, 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 stronger. Okay. Because we want a very strong, powerful response. Okay. And then I tied it to every time that you said yes. Okay. You're going to feel that. Now that it's tied, the brain understands anytime that you say yes, right? I've tied it to me for right now. So anytime that you respond yes to me, one of my questions, you're going to feel this way. Now we can take this and we can put it to anything. We can tie it to a physical trigger, right? Each and every time that somebody, does that, you can do this. You can, somebody touches you right here, you're going to feel that wave of pleasure. We can tie it to a word, right? I can just say the word pleasure, right? In fact, anytime I say the word pleasure, you're going to feel that pleasure response, and it's going to get stronger and stronger each and every time, right? And I can say the word pleasure. Yeah. Now, we can tie this, if we can tie it to a word, if we can tie it to a gesture, right? We can tie it to a behavior. Okay. So what would you like to do? What are you having an issue with? What would you like to do better? What would you like to be rewarded with? each and every time that you do a positive behavior that's going to get you closer to your goals or closer to where you want to be in life? What would that be?
Let's say like reaching out to new prospects for my work.
Okay, reaching out to new prospects for your work. All right. Now, we don't want you having like complete pleasure gasms, while you're talking to them. All right.
Mm-mm.
So, how
Okay.
about we do this after you talk to them or after you've reached out? So, let's say for example, you reach out and they have a voicemail, right? You leave a voicemail. Well, after you get done hanging up, you get to feel pleasure. Okay. And you know what? Leaving a voicemail is all right, but that should always be followed up with an email, right? You want to cover all your bases, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you leave, let's do it this way. Oh, I love this because you know what? I'm a giver. Okay. So each and every time that you leave a voicemail, right, you get to feel pleasure. But if you leave a voicemail and you follow it up with an email, that pleasure is going to be 5 times stronger. Yeah. Yeah. You going to leave that email now?
Yeah, I guess I
Yeah.
am.
Yeah.
But
All right.
I'm like,
Now
"Huh?"
here's where a little bit of hypnosis comes in. All right. So I want you to close your eyes.
Okay.
Okay. I want you to close your eyes. Now I want you to imagine that you are going to reach out to this person. Okay. How do you feel?
It's like kind of neutral to nervous.
Okay. Now I want you to know that after you do this, you're going to feel that wave of pleasure. Okay. Now how do you feel about doing it?
Excited.
Excited. Okay. Now I want you to imagine, keep your eyes closed. Only because most people imagine better with their eyes closed. So I want you to imagine that you call that number. The entire time you know you're going to get rewarded for this. Okay. You call that number, you get a voicemail. All right. I want you to imagine that you leave that voicemail. All right. You hang up, and what do you feel?
Like juicy, beautiful, excited pleasure.
Yeah, yeah. And now you know that you have to follow up with an email, right? Because that's the right thing to do. It's a very thorough way to run a business, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
want you to know
Yes,
that
there you
after you get done with this, it's going to be 5 times stronger. So I want you to, now you're already feeling good. All right, write that email. Imagine that you're writing the email. All right, I want you to hit that send button. Get ready for it though. Yeah, how's that?
go. Yes,
Yeah, yeah. You gonna make some more phone calls and then send some more emails?
yes,
Yeah, you are.
sure I am.
All right. Now, from this point forward, for the rest of your life, so long as this suggestion serve you and bring you joy, this is how it's going to be. This is what you're going to feel. And each time your desire to feel this way grows even stronger. That's right. Every day in every way, better, stronger, instant. That's right. And all you have to want is to want it. That's right. If the moment that this no longer serves you, brings you joy, or is not working for you, your subconscious will stop immediately. But if you want this, this is exactly how this is going to happen. It's your reward. It's permanent. It's changed forever so long as you want it. That's right. And when you're ready, when you know this is true, when you know this is just how it's going to be moving forward, every day better than the day before, just open your eyes. There you go. There you go. So we can take these ecstatic pleasure states and we can link them to positive behaviors, right? Why make people feel bad about doing something they know they should do? Give them a positive reward. Give them something that they really want to feel more of. And we used physical sexual pleasure, right? But we could use confidence, we could use motivation, we can use any positive feeling or positive state, and we can slap them on top of each other like a sandwich of positivity, right? Make them stronger and stronger, and then people are feeling better for doing the things that they know they want and should be doing for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Really helps with eliminating that self-sabotage.
Absolutely.
And also, if they know it's a need, right? You wouldn't be able to stop them, right? They know they need to do it. They know they're going to gain something from doing it. And not only are they going to gain something from fulfilling their needs, but we've given them a physical positive sensation that they're going to gain. We're just stacking all the gains so that way they're like, just try to stop me from doing this. Right? Now, when it comes to orgasms, right? And this is why I said, because of the process, this is why I said the orgasm is the destination, not the journey.
Got it.
Right?
Yeah.
Pleasure is the journey. I love pleasure. Pleasure is so much fun. And the orgasm is great, right? But a lot, it's kind of like you give a guy an orgasm button, he's gonna punch the crap out of it. It's just gonna be like boop, 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 boop. And yeah, sure, that could be fun, right? But most women I find are like, okay, give me that back until you learn how to grow up.
Yeah. Until you learn how to like press and hold the orgasm button of the woman, and it's like then you can have your orgasm button back to your man or whatever.
Yeah, and this comes with a lot of growth as far as a man goes as well, right? And this is kind of like the temptation, right? The Eve offering the apple to the man only in a positive way, right? It's like, look at this knowledge and information. God, I sound like the snake. Wow. Anyways. If a woman comes and says, and shows all these positive changes that she's making very quickly and rapidly, right? My hope is that the guy is going to be like, wow, like that's amazing. How can I do that? Right? And it's like, oh, go see this guy. I'd love to see more guys. Because, right, we have a conversation about how to be men.
Yeah.
Right. And how to be okay with that.
Yeah.
And communication. Right. And understanding your woman and, what she needs. Right. Which it sounds really weird coming from a guy, I know, but like when you work with 98% women for years and years and years, it's not like you guys make this a secret.
I mean,
right?
Some like they have a hard time asking for what they need, but also like they're asking and it's just like,
but here's the thing.
Mhm.
Women have a hard time asking for things they need from the person they're with. They don't have a problem telling me what they need.
Or
I can't. You
Yeah.
can't. You couldn't keep it in. Like we get in a session and it's just like, and I'm like, yeah, I get it. Like, trust me, you're not making it a secret to me.
Right.
So if I got to work with more guys, it'd be great because I'd be like, hey, they're not that complicated. In fact, if you listen, they'll tell you what they want and what they need. And you just got to do it. Like they're not a confusing roadmap, right? They're more like a GPS. You just have to listen to them. And it's and being comfortable with that. Also, men have a big problem asking questions. Right? Clarifying questions. Right. If I understand this correctly. And also men are a little bit more reactional than women. Right? Men tend to react more towards the negative than women do. Women will initially do it, but it's less outwardly. Right? It's more internally, and then they kind of process it. Yeah, rather than outwardly. Not all, but majority. So working with guys on this, that's the whole, right? It's like have the orgasm button, but take that orgasm button away because you can't handle the orgasm button. And then kind of pique the interest, right? Because with orgasms, it could be a lot of fun. There's big, giant Mount St. Helen exploding orgasms, right? There's orgasms that are just waves that come in waves nonstop until I tell you to stop. There are powerful orgasms that are racking your body on the inside, but on the outside, everything is crystal clean and serene, right? There are orgasms that are just happening under the surface that are so unperceptible that you know that they're happening, but yet you are so calm and relaxed while they're happening. It's just, and leave a girl like that for an hour.
And those are powerful skills for men to master in relationship, as single dudes, attracting a partner, like whatever that might be. Like that is how you get a woman who's like, I am here for your pleasure and your service. You know, that is by doing that work first to figure out how to help her be in a beautiful space. And you know, it's like maybe it goes the other way, but like from
No,
my experience, the people I've talked to, it's like a lot of the time it's like the women need to be in that soft space before they really are willing to like turn around and offer it so much, unless they've got some sort of conditioning.
well, it's a win-win for both, right?
Yeah.
Men feel more dominant, more confident, right? They've got some skills, they've got some powers, right? But women get a lot more of the benefit because in order for them to even achieve this, they first need to understand that they are capable of it, which makes them powerful, right? I am not giving a woman an orgasm. I'm teaching her how to give herself an orgasm through the power of her own mind. And then I'm showing her that she has no upper limits to how good she can feel. Which also means if you can feel this good, you can feel this good. And leave yourself there all fucking day long. And oh, by the way, if you're in control of all of this, that means you're in control of all your other emotions too. So nobody can really piss you off anymore. You can allow yourself to be pissed off, or you can choose to not to.
Yeah. Or you can choose.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
That
when you build an anchor that says, when I choose to no longer stay stuck in this place, I feel orgasmic. Oh my God. Like what is the impetus to stay stuck in that place it becomes very, very small because we're naturally wanting to choose pleasure and choosing to be open.
Yeah. And women are very competitive, right? Men are very competitive. Women are very competitive against themselves too, right? So I kind of utilize that. I'm like, imagine you feel like this all the time. Let me see this. Let me see the smile that comes with that, right? That's the one. That's the one. Now you're wearing that all the time. And I want you to look around at all the faces of the women you work with, all the faces of the women you pass in the grocery store, right? And I want you to see the moment they see that smile, how jealous they are because they can't figure out why you can smile like that, why you can hold yourself like this, and how badly they want that, and how good you feel knowing that you have it. And by the way, the only way that you can have that and you can achieve that is by being okay by giving up control, which is a very powerful thing for women to feel. Because one of the things that women need to feel the most, and you said this earlier, is to feel safe. And if you can give up that control with somebody like me, right, in order to get a better benefit, you have broken down an obstacle that most women cannot. And that also means that you've regained more control that you thought you had, but really didn't. Because the epitome of control is being able to give that control up. If you're not able to give up control, you're not in control. That's the illusion of control. I get a lot of people who are like, oh, I'm a control freak. I don't know that I can be hypnotized. And I said, you're actually not a control freak. Because if you were a control freak, you'd be able to give that control up. It'd be yours to give up. And because you can't, it's not yours.
Interesting.
Yeah. And that's the moment that their eyes kind of go, what?
My brain is a little boggled.
Yeah, it is. But think about it, right? If you're driving your car. You can take your hands off the wheel, right?
Yeah, for a little bit.
That means you're in control. If you were unable to remove your hand from that wheel, are you in control?
No, like fear's in control, or
Yeah, something else is in control. Could
something
be
else is in
anything.
control that says,
Could be anything. Fear
yeah,
is usually it. Fear that we're going to crash and die, right? The reason I don't take my hand off the wheel, right? Could be inexperience, right?
yeah,
You're understanding that you are inexperienced and it's probably not a good idea. Could be programming, right? Your hands are never supposed to leave the wheel, right? Could be a lot of different things. But the point is that you are not the one in control, because if it is your choice to take your hand off the wheel, you should be able to do so. If you are unable to make that choice, you're not in control.
mm-hmm.
Something else is,
Yeah.
right?
Can I ask you a question?
You can ask me anything you want.
Okay, great. In terms of like that, applying that like control, lack of control to like manifestation, to like creating things that are like sort of beyond our current scope of concept for our existing reality. Right now, I feel like I'm in a process of sort of like opening to experience something new in my world, and uh at the same time, like I sort of go back and forth of like, but if I don't do all the things, if I don't make the phone calls, if I don't do the whatever, like then it won't happen. And there's a sense of safety in sort of like being in that action, being in control through action, something like that, versus being not as in control and letting go of me being personally the one who needs to do the action, something like that.
Yeah, okay. So it's I want to win the lottery, but I don't play the lottery.
Right.
Okay. How badly do you want to win the lottery? Oh, badly. Okay. How much are you willing to spend on the lottery in order to win the lottery? $20. Okay. Now we have to understand that how badly you want to win the lottery is not as badly as you think. Or your means to win the lottery are not as great as they need to be in order for you to win the lottery. Okay. So having these conversations is, it's like, I want new things to happen and I want, okay, so I'll just take myself, like I want new clients, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What advertising do I do? Well, I don't do any advertising. Okay. Right. Well, how do you want clients to find you? Right. So this is where reverse engineering comes in. Okay. So if you're going to manifest, the best thing to do is to manifest what you want and reverse engineer how to get there. Right. This will give you more control over what your options are and how much you need to be doing. Right. Because you'll know, at what step you're at. So if you're like, I want to be busy. Great. Let's advertise. Perfect. How much do you have what's your advertising budget? $60,000. Great. Let's do it. Now I'm too fucking busy. Right. So it's like, how busy do you want to be? All right. I want to have 3 clients every day. How many days do you work? Oh, I work 3 days a week. All right. So you want to have 9 clients a week. Yes, that's 9. Okay. Wow. Definitely a Monday after a long weekend. I was like, am I having problems with 3 threes and whether or not that's 6 or 9? Yes, I am. Okay. So you want 9 clients a week. All right. How much advertising do we need to do to get you 9 clients a week? Well, it's probably not 60 grand. So do you see how I reverse engineered that to see what I actually need to do and make it more realistic so that what I want to manifest is what it gets manifested. Right. So I'm way more in control here and I can, it's like, okay, well, let's start with, $30 a week. Right. And it's like, okay, well, I'm not quite there yet. Where am I? Well, I'm at a quarter. All right. Well, if a quarter is at 30 and, and I want more, then we're going to put, let's put 90 in.
Yeah.
All right. That'll get me to 3/4. So let's see where that's at. So now I've got a little bit more control over what I'm doing and I feel good about it. I'm not second guessing this because I know where I want to go and I know why, right? Again, needs versus wants. Why do you want that manifestation, right? Why do you want to bring new things in? What is that? What need is that going to serve? What are the gains?
Yeah.
Right? Understanding that will also get you to more of, so I keep this, I wrote this, this is probably about 3 years old now. And it's just a sticky I keep because I have to use it for every single one of my clients. I wrote it once. All right.
Today, goal.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And then there is a dot between today and your goal. Right? Because that dot between today and your goal means that you are not the same person that made the goal. So the more you move towards that goal, the more your situation is changing. And the reason that we usually create goals, okay, is to get away from a source of discomfort. So let's say, for example, poverty, okay? People always want to make more money. And so they're coming from a place of stress. They're coming from a place of, I can't pay my bills. I'm constantly stressed about where the next, money is coming from. So I need to make more money, right? That's a very common one. How much more money do you want to make? Well, I want to make $100,000. Great. How much money do you make now? I make 30. Big leap, right? Let's start with double that. Let's start with 60. Okay. Yeah. And this is if I was like, I don't want to throw life coaches under the bus here, but if I was the talk therapist, right? Just like a coach or a counselor or something like that. I really don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but if we're just talking, and you don't understand how goals and how people, human behavior, right? Then it's like, okay, let's, what do you need to do to make $60,000? Right? That's the conversation. That's the wrong conversation to be having. The conversation to be having should be, what do you want your life to look like? Remember when we were talking about ask better questions, get better results, right? Yeah. People are always like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Well, honestly, I see myself in your job. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Because I bet you it's not working for me, right? It's right. I am the worst person to interview for a job. This is why I work for myself. So the better question is, what do you want your life to look like in 5 years? Okay. Not where do you see yourself? What do you want your life to look like? So if it's a matter of money, a year is usually good. So it's like, okay, where do you see yourself in a year? Where do you want to be? Well, I want to be in a place that I don't have to worry about my bills, right? I want to have a little bit more financial freedom. I want to, start saving. Okay. All right. So how much do you make now? Right? How much are you short now a month? How much do you want to put away a month? How much do you want to, right? And then you work backwards from there, because you'll find a lot of the time that they don't need to make nearly as much as they think they need to make. Right? So you make the goal not only reasonable, but you start to tick off all the reasons why they're working so hard. Because here's what happens with goals. You set a goal, and the further away that you move from your place of discomfort, the more motivation you lose. Okay. I'm there. Yeah. So you're only making 30,000 and you're having a hard time, paying your bills and everything. And you get to 40,000, you're like, ooh, breathing room. This is nice. But you worked your ass off to get there. Now I'm like, hey, keep going, buddy. Keep going. You're like, why do I have to work so hard? This is kind of comfortable. Right? Well, you're not going to get the same amount of motivation or the same amount of work ethic and effort out of this person, right? When they start becoming comfortable.
Yeah. And that's moving
Unless
away from pain versus
they're
moving
worming.
towards pleasure, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, if they know where they're going to and why they're going there, it's much easier to get them there. It's a lot easier to pull a person than it is to push a person when it comes to a goal, because they're going to lose motivation going this way. Right. But if they're being pulled, yeah. Yeah. And a lot of people will use fear, right? Well, you don't want to go back there. Well, why not? You've been there before. It's comfortable. You know what it's like.
Yeah.
You know, now you're saying don't take risks. Don't do anything stupid because you don't want to end up back there. Well, yeah, okay, it might have been uncomfortable, but that's a fear base, right? You shouldn't be afraid to enjoy what you've worked for fear that you're going to end up back there, right? You know what's back there. You know why you don't want to go back there. Just make it a point not to go back there. Don't slip that far. If you find yourself slipping, catch yourself. These are all places of power. These are all places of lack of fear. Right? Yeah, I could go back there. I don't want to. I have no intention of it. So one question I love to ask my clients when they're done, it's how I know that they're done and how I know that they know that they're done, is I ask them one simple question. I say, could you ever imagine going back to where you were when we first met? And they look at me like I got lobsters crawling out of my ears. They're like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, there's no way I could. No. I'm like, yeah, you're done. You're done.
Wonderful.
Right? Like, they don't want to go back there. So they're going to do everything that they can to not go back there. But it's not a fear. It's an understanding. It's I can't go back at knowing what I know. Right? Can you go after what you've experienced with pleasure and what I just put in your brain about how you're going to feel when you do the things that you need to do? Can you go back and think about not doing those things now?
No, it's just like, oh, like I know that this next thing I'm creating is a need that I have. I need to be with people who are like-minded and lovely. Great. So if that's a need, like there's no freaking way it's not happening.
That's
And
right.
if I'm going to feel orgasmic and beautiful after I finish every single potential call with somebody, it's like, and when they sign up, I feel like 100 times better. I don't even need you to hypnotize me or even suggest
Nope.
that. It's just like, oh, it's already there. It's like, oh yeah, like, so I get finished the lead generation, I feel fantastic. How much even better than that am I gonna feel once they say, yeah, I'm totally willing to like hand you cash and work with you? It's just like, right? Like,
Exactly. And see, and it's like you said, I didn't need to do that for you. You now understand the unlimited potential and power that your brain has. All you have to do is direct it and say, this is what I want.
Yeah.
And this is how I want to feel when I do it. This is how I want to feel when I get done doing it. This is how I want to feel when I think about doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And your brain doesn't care. Your brain is literally like, sure, whatever. And this is how I know this. There are people out there who every time something good happens to them, they feel bad.
Yeah. Been there, done that, lived that for a while.
Yeah, they feel unworthy. And your brain doesn't care. Your brain's like, oh, something good happened. Oh, we're not happy about that. Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And if you do it over and over and over again, repetition, your brain's like, I get it. Every time something good happens, you feel bad. No problem. I'll take that from now on.
Yeah.
And then you grow up, right? A couple of years go by, you meet somebody different. Your life experience changes. Maybe you get a better job. Maybe things start working out for you. And now all of a sudden you're like, I got this promotion. I don't deserve it. Fucking, it's, somebody else should have. And yeah. And everybody around you is like, what is wrong with you? And you're like, I don't know. I know I should be happy, but I don't know what's wrong with me. Because your brain picked up the repetition. Your brain picked up the pattern. It picked up the habit, the behavior, and now it's running with it right back here where you can't even see it. You don't even remember when it happened. Most people
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
And nobody taught you. Nobody taught you how to just take it, look at it, and be like, oh yeah, we don't do that anymore. This is what I want. This is how we're going to do it.
Yeah.
And your brain is like, it doesn't care. Your brain's literally like, yeah, sure.
Yeah. And that's the power of hypnosis. That's the power of like NLP.
Well, that's
and
the power. That's the power of you. The hypnosis and NLP, they're tools. They're tools. They're tools to help program the subconscious and communicate with the subconscious and access these patterns and belief systems, right? But all of this power resides within each one of us. And as a hypnotist and a practitioner, and I hypnosis has a really bad rep, and there's a lot of people. Sorry.
Oh, it's like hypnosis has been like absolutely stigmatized by mass
Oh, yeah.
media because it's a powerful tool of transformation that mass media uses to put people into powerless states. That
Yep.
is the only reason why it has a bad rap. It's not because it's not effective. It's not because it's like useless or full of crazy people. It's like it's only because it's a powerful tool of transformation,
Yeah.
and the people who want to keep people stuck know that.
Yeah. Yeah, I love how in one breath they're like, oh yeah, hypnosis is complete garbage and doesn't exist, and while they're using hypnosis, and because again, hypnosis it's just a tool. They're just tools, right? And it's like it's like anything else. You can use tools for good. You can use tools for bad.
Yeah.
Right. And we're so adaptable. It's like the people who built the atomic bomb, right? Thought that they were doing great work, putting mankind forward leaps and bounds, right? So there's good intentions to, everything that could be paved with disaster. So you got to keep yourself clean. My work never ends. I work on myself daily. I'm constantly, reading, learning, improving, and people I love people who are like, I'm woke. And I'm like, great. What are you doing now? Cause that's like step one, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I'm going to enlightenment. And I'm like, and then what are you going to do? Because that's the next step, right? These are just steps until the day that your eyes do not open anymore. The work never ends. You're constantly working on yourself. And this is why it's so important that I don't just fix people, right? I don't just change people. I teach them how to change themselves, because their work is just starting and they need these tools.
Yeah.
Right. But that's it. They're tools. But the most important thing is teaching people how powerful they are. And pleasure is a great way to do that.
Absolutely.
Because and orgasms are great. Like I love orgasms, right? They're wonderful releases, and they definitely cleanse out the whole palate and get that sonic cleanse and kind of restart and make you feel wonderful. But pleasure is amazing. You can walk around blissed out of your mind 24/7, and it's okay. Right? Yeah, try it. It's fine. It's better to hold on to that than it is stress and tension. Right? People are constantly like, I have, chronic pain and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, well, what happens when you put anything under stress for long periods of time? Right? It wears out. It, cracks and wear and tear. And our bodies are just like that. Right? And you're putting external stress. And the worst part is we're putting internal stress. We're putting stress on ourselves. Right? When we should be giving ourselves pleasure, we should be saying thank you to ourselves. We should be, rewarding ourselves with good things, positive things. And what, an apple pie from, McDonald's is great, but, fuck, give yourself like 3 orgasms in a row until you're, crying because it feels so good, and then go home, right? It's going to beat an apple pie any day of the week. So, and granted, somebody comes to me with, trauma, abuse, and high anxiety and PTSD. It's, it's not orgasms all day long. That's more advanced stuff. But people have to have the idea ahead of them that there's still work to do, right? It's the elevator doesn't just go to the main floor in the basement, right? There's a second floor, there's a third floor, right? Pleasure, there's levels up here, right? And most people are just walking around on the ground. Yeah. It's the people who are flying high up there that they're getting stuff done. They don't let anything bother them. Wow. Right? It's like try to pull a balloon down from a ceiling that you can't reach. You got to work at it. You got to get a ladder. You got to get something to poke at it, right? Well, if you're that balloon, nobody's fucking with you. They can't get a hold of you. They can't reach you. Yeah. And what do they say? Well, your head's in the clouds, right? You're just dreaming. Right? Well, there's the other part. Our conscious mind keeps our feet flat on the ground. Right. Yeah. So when your subconscious mind and your conscious mind are communicating at the same level, your problems don't exist. It's impossible. Yeah. Because your subconscious mind is the dreamer. The conscious mind is based in reality. Well, when both of them agree on something, you don't have a problem. You have an answer. You have a solution. Mm-hmm. And all you have to do is get the fuck out of your own way. And so the best way to do that is to understand. And oh, by the way, if you feel good about getting out of your own way and letting shit happen, mm-hmm. We're just stacking the deck in our favor, right? I know understanding is good enough, but just in case, feel good about it too. Feel good about all the work that you've put into, getting to this point. Right? Absolutely. Yeah. And this is what I was talking about with pleasure being the journey. Mm-hmm. Right? And the destination being the orgasm, right? Because orgasm could be anything. It could be success, right? When you see all your best laid plans, when you're looking at your eco village and people are moving in and you're like that is orgasm right there. That is completion.
100%. Yeah.
Right. It's one step. There are other steps, but there are other orgasms. Mm-hmm. Right. So anything can be an orgasm. It's a release. It's that wonderful sigh of relief and release that you're just like, oh, fuck yes, that is what I was talking about. Right. And if you feel that anytime that you want, how could you not walk around the planet completely like happy and glowy and make everybody around you jealous about like, how the fuck does that happen? And here's the worst part too about the stigmatization of hypnosis. And this will kind of end this here. Sure. The stigmatization of hypnosis and sexuality in Western culture is, I've had wonderful success with pleasure in, like I said, doesn't have to be physical sexual pleasure. It could just be like a really good, happy feeling. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I do follow-ups, and sometimes it is sexual, pleasurable response. And sometimes it is just for, sexual responsiveness. And with those people, I'll follow up and I'll be like, so how's everything going? Oh, everything is amazing. Everything's great. People are constantly asking me like why I'm so happy and why, how everything changed. And I'm like, that's amazing. What do you tell them? And they're like, oh, I don't tell them anything. Like, oh, you're a walking billboard for how good people can be and how good it can and how easy and all this and how it's achievable for everything. And yet you don't feel comfortable enough to tell people. I'm like, and that's fine. I feel a little bit bad, but I understand. I get it.
Yeah.
Right. It's hard enough to, I get a lot of people. They're like, you don't have a lot of reviews. And I'm like, if you were abused by your grandfather growing up, would you want to put that in a review with your name attached right to it? Yeah. So everybody, no, it's like, yeah, no, I get it. So it's we and the other part is, I had to go see a hypnotist to get this
Mm,
done. And
mhm.
automatically, people can be like, oh shit, you must have been fucked up. Oh, I had to be a hypnotist.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, so it's a constant education. It's a constant battle. But
I mean,
yeah.
in that case, I mean, like to me, it just seems really simple to go, well, when you finish, like by the time you're finished working with people, Chris, give them, instead of giving them something that seems challenging to share with other people, it's just like I worked with like Zen Level Therapy, which is your company,
Yeah.
right? It has nothing to do with hypnotism. I worked with Zen Level Therapy. It
Yeah.
helped me get rid of my past trauma, and it helped me, put this beautiful smile on my face on a regular basis. And I think just like tiny bit of feedback here if you want. It's like
Yeah.
you can work on the program that you give people about how they're supposed to refer you, how they're supposed to review you, what all that kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah. I do make it so that they can email me about their experience. And usually a lot of times what I'll do is I will get them to like during my check-ins, when I'm doing
Yeah.
my check-ins with them, like especially the first one, which is usually about a month after, about 30 days. Um, unless they request that I check in with them earlier, because
Mhm.
there is some counseling and some continuing. So the great thing about the program is once the base program is kind of done, they
Mhm.
have all the basic skills I need. So now we can go into like a coaching counseling kind of thing
Mhm.
where there's not as much hypnosis and as much education going on. There's a
Yeah.
little bit of that, but
Yeah.
it's mostly high level discussions
Right.
of how to apply these things to different areas of their life.
Yeah.
Right. Once that basis is done. So that's an interesting avenue to kind of keep people. I like to call it their train on the tracks,
Yeah.
or their roller coaster on the tracks. And so one thing I've been offering is saying, like, do you mind if I share what you sent me? Do you mind if I share what you sent me in like anonymously?
Yeah.
Right. Because you can't, unfortunately, on like Facebook and Google, you can't really post anonymously
Right.
as
Yeah.
far as right. And then I do let them know that you don't have to say exactly what you came for, just that what your experience was like, right?
Mhm.
What your results were, and you can keep it very vague.
Yeah.
And some people are okay with that. A lot of people don't really want to have their name associated with the fact that they went to a hypnotist, right? Because even though it is Zen level therapy, I do mention, because I do use hypnosis.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a
it is
powerful
a
tool.
hypnosis based therapy, right?
Yeah.
So I have to let that, on the website. So
Mhm.
once somebody's like, oh, and they click on it, then it's like hypnosis everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So it's
Mhm.
kind of it's a double-edged sword, but
Yeah.
at the same time, when you take, like, right before we were supposed to go on, right? I thought I was going to get like 4 phone calls in for
Yeah.
potential clients. I got 1,
Yeah.
because there is a lot of explanation going on. There's a lot of talking. Most people are like at the end of their rope. They're like, we've tried everything.
Yeah.
Right. Let's go with hypnosis.
Yeah.
So now and they don't know much about it.
Right.
Right. All they know is that they're just at the end of the rope.
Right.
Um, and my process is a lot different than most hypnotists. Most hypnotists would just be like, don't worry about it. We'll fix you. We'll get this all done.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm going to teach you some stuff here. Right. So you have to be open to being educated. You have to be open to wanting to change and continue to change and be okay with your new journey
Mhm.
of being in control of your life. Because that's another problem, right? is
Mind blown.
is
Yeah.
I'm not here to solve your problem. I'm here to put you in control of your life so that you can solve it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're going to take the methods and methodologies and practices and all the stuff that I do. We're going to apply it to your problem,
Yeah.
so you have a learning curve, right? So you know how to apply it to other areas of your life.
Yeah.
But we're not just going to solve your problem, right? I'm putting you in control, which means that you can't unlearn things. You can't unhear words,
Mhm.
right? I can't say like, oh, you suck. And then, oh, just forget I said that, right? You can't, doesn't work that way, right? So if you experience something like having complete control over your emotions, your thoughts, and your behaviors, well, you can't go back to giving your power away. You can't go back to, making excuses for yourself. You don't really have a choice but to be like, yeah, no, this is all fucking me. And now I got to do something about it.
Yeah.
Right. And that is a very big shift from people, because look at where they were going before.
Mhm.
Doctor's going to make me better. This pill's going to make me better. This specialist is going to make me better. This surgery is going to make me better. Talking about this with this person and this person's going to tell me how to make this better. And none of them are saying, why don't you do it?
Yeah, you can take your power back. You can
Yeah,
claim your power back.
we'll do it together. I'll show you how.
Yeah.
Right.
I love it though. It's
I
like I
know.
love that level of work because there are, the healing industry, the alternative healing industry, as well as the medical industry, has to a certain degree desire to keep people in their challenges so that they continue to have clients, so they continue to have people to work on. And it's like, well, if we really let people solve their initial problem, then we can help them solve deeper problems when they get caught with the tools that we taught them that really do hand their power back to them. And if people are willing to claim that power back in a really big way, which is unfortunately relatively rare, unless
Yeah.
you sort of encounter with and bump into somebody like yourself or myself who's willing to work with people to help them claim their power back, to help them actually be in connection with, that true source of themselves
Yeah.
and the true source of their power. Then you're
Yeah.
in some sort of cycle of,
Fear.
well, this person's going to heal me. And it's like, like your willingness to be
Yes.
healed is what shows you up at a healer's office that allows you to be healed. It's
Yes.
not the thing that the person did, although it's helpful to have ritual and conversation and caring
Yeah.
in order to be healed. Sometimes the thing that we need is to know that somebody cares about our problems or somebody's willing to listen
Yeah.
more than anything else, and all of that's super valuable.
Yeah. And this comes down to understanding people, right? And what people need to change, and understanding change work, and how people change, and how people can change quickly.
Yeah.
Right. And everything is pretty much run from a fear base, right? Medical companies are running from a fear base that they're going to run out of clients. Right. And I'm like, holy shit, if I run out of clients, that means they're all better.
That's a good thing.
That's a great problem to have.
Yeah,
I
you
can
gotta
go,
figure out-
I'll go on and I'll do something else, right? I'll do hypnosis for fun. I will start teaching people how to be, orgasmic and ecstatic pleasure states, right? I'll teach other stuff rather than dealing with fear and trauma and all the stuff that I deal with, because that's where people are at right now.
Yeah.
So the other part of this is, I'll see this in hypnosis forums and everything like that. And people are like, well, how many sessions do you work people with? And I'm like, I usually work, base start off minimum 6 sessions, to like a maximum of, 10, 12. Once we start getting past the 10, we start getting into coaching and we start getting into like counseling and stuff like that on how to apply this stuff. But minimum 6 sessions, people are like, oh, that's slow. And I'm like, well, I go about things differently, right? I'm teaching them, right? And they're putting the process in, and also understanding change work, right? I don't I don't hound my clients, right? They have to want they have to want this.
Mhm.
So it's like, if I go door to door to door and I'm like, hey, do you have anxiety or PTSD or any kind of trauma? I'll help you. There's less worth than them reaching out for help,
Mhm.
right? So there's already the effort on their part. And I need to constantly be encouraging that effort on them, because a lot of people will come to a hypnotist and they're just like, fix me.
Mhm.
And I'm like, well, I got a bat in the back, I can just beat you with it until you stop. Right. And I'll take credit for it, but really you made the choice to stop doing it. So I'd stop beating you.
Mm,
Really, it just comes down to the same thing. Or we could do this the easy way and the relaxing way and the pleasurable way. Right. And they're like, yeah, that sounds better. Okay, great. But I need them to do the work. And the first step is to reach out. The second step is even before the first session, right? There's hoops that I need them to jump through so that they get used to putting in the effort,
yeah.
right? And really, when it comes down to it, they're doing something for themselves.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
that is the biggest obstacle most people have. They'll do for other people all day long. They won't even question it.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, piano? No problem. Dead body? Sure. Oh, you want to use my car? No problem. Done. Easy. Anything to help you out.
Yeah.
Right. But now I need to go rob a bank. And I'm like, oh, I can't ask my friends to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But they ask me for all sorts of stuff. And I say yes every single time. But the moment that I need something, I can't ask other people for that. I can't self-sabotage.
Mm-hmm.
Right? When it comes to you, you make it different.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. That's part of why I'm excited about working with pregnant women, because pregnant women will do things for their baby that they wouldn't do for themselves.
Oh, absolutely. Oh,
Little
you'll see this.
changes.
Parents will do the same thing.
Yeah.
People, I see it all the time with cat moms and dogs moms, right? They wear the shirt. It's like, I work so my cat can have a better life, right? And it's just stuff like that. And I'm absolutely dead serious,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I know.
They will starve before they let their animal or their cat starve or their dog starve.
Yeah.
Right. And parents are the same way with children.
Yeah.
This is why when people are like, oh, I don't have kids, I have animals. I'm like, same thing.
I mean, animals are
One
just kids that never grow up and continue to need you. Like,
and don't talk either.
yeah,
I mean,
you can't.
they don't get easier.
No,
Right.
no, they're stuck
So
with it.
so I get it. But here's the thing is it doesn't matter. They will do for themselves before they do they will do for others before they do for themselves. And I find wisdom in the weirdest places. So one of the best pieces of advice I could ever give somebody is when you're on an airplane, before they take off, they talk to you about the mask.
Mm-hmm.
What do they tell you to do first?
Put your mask on.
Yes. Because you are fucking useless to anybody else if you are passed out or dead.
Yeah. Just like
Right?
you're useless as a parent if you're angry, grumpy, stressed out, suffering from PTSD, all of that stuff. It's like you can't pass on the holistic, beautiful, spiritual, conscious experience of life and the pleasure that life can be to your children if you are stressed out and freaked out about your work, your job, your commute, your whatever it is. It's just like you can't do it unless you're doing it for yourself first. And it really is like, and if you need to use other people as a motivation to do that work for yourself, like, do that. Like, this is like permission from me to say, if people are listening to this and they're like, wow, this seems really powerful, but I can't invest in myself that way, or I don't want to, I'm not worth it. It's like, fuck, everybody else in your life will appreciate when you're walking around beaming in joy. Your partner will love it when you are orgasmic as goodness all over the place. Your children will love that you are able to be playful and happy with them because you're not stressed out about whatever the crap that happened like 50, 25 years ago, last week, whatever it is. Like,
Yeah, or 3 hours ago.
3 hours ago. It's like, it's
Yeah.
time, and it's time to own that and do it for yourself. And if you need support in learning those tools, like Chris and I are both totally available and happy to do that work for people.
Yeah.
Chris, I'm just looking at the time and I want to honor our initial sort of agreement. We've
Yep.
gone over a little bit. And so I'm just curious, is there any other last sort of information that you want to share with people?
Yeah. I did because something came up for me when you were talking about all of that, and
Yeah.
the importance of putting yourself first
Yeah.
is Children are sponges,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we're coming across a lot of people. Now I don't work with children myself, not until they're at least like just preteen or teen.
Yeah.
Then I'll start working with them. I don't work with children. I know people who do, so I can refer. Um, However, my thing is children with ADD, anxiety, stuff like this,
Mm-hmm.
would they be that way if their parents weren't?
Mm.
Right? So if their parents put themselves first, learn these tools, learn to be in control of themselves, learn to control their states, right? And change their states. So they're not pretending, right? I'm going to pretend not to be upset with daddy right now so I can play with you. And I just put on this, pretend smile, right? Nobody's buying that. It's the whole like, well, I'm going to stay together for the kids, right? And it's like, and how many people say like, don't do that. Like that's the worst thing you could do for the kids. They know,
They know.
right? They know. They know because their communication skills as far as language goes, and language, by the way, is very, very limited as far as communication, right? We communicate through energy, we communicate through body language, we communicate through tonality, right? Well, children pick this up very quickly because that's what they have when they're babies. It's all they have. They don't have language, right? They've got screams, they've got, and they're picking up your energy, your vibe, your all of this stuff. And they're processing. Remember, they don't have any preconceived anything. So they're constantly making, they don't have any, they don't have any files to look through and say, okay, well, what does this mean? Right. So they're constantly making this up on the fly. Well, if the parents were really solid and stable about this, would the children have as many problems as they're having nowadays?
No. If the parents were calm and peaceful in their own bodies, if they had mastery over their own emotions while they were in pregnancy state, while they were in the birth space, if we're having orgasmic births instead of crazy traumatic hospital births, like
Yeah.
what's going to happen to those kids? Those children are coming out absolutely completely differently. And that's a huge part of why I'm focusing where I'm focusing on my work right
Yeah,
now.
and that's kind of what brought me to that, because we're seeing a lot more problems in children and toddlers and grade schoolers that a lot of people say, well, we didn't have the information back then and we were misdiagnosing and all this other stuff. Well, the other thing we didn't have is we didn't have the amount of anxiety, we didn't have the amount of stress, and we didn't have the amount of tension in our life space. Right. A lot more people were relaxed. They had more job security back in the day. They had, plans for retirement and stuff. So they were a lot more relaxed and chilled and calm. And now parents who are having kids now, they don't know if they're going to have a job next week. They don't know what they're going to do about their bills and, the cost of living and everything. Well, that's all stress and tension. And that is picked up by the child. So the child is now even thinking, well, oh, this is the correct way to respond. This is the correct way to be, right? They're stressed and tense all the time. So I got to be stressed and tense all the time because this is how to be a human.
Yeah.
Right. And their little bodies can't, and they feel way more than us because they don't have the limitations that we've put on our feelings and our emotions.
It seemed like we talked about when we're talking about that confusion thing. It's like children are living in, like, until they hit sort of 3 and then 7, they're just literally living in that, like, what exactly
Sponge.
is happening?
Yep.
What exactly is happening? And it's all just information that they're then learning to respond to. And
Yeah.
yeah, it can cause a lot of trouble.
Yeah, and there's not really any research that I know of that's really going on for right now, right? And it's a lot of this is pushed by the pharmaceutical companies of like ADD medications and and all this other stuff, and you get things like the autism spectrum, right? Well, how is that affected by stress and tension and anxiety while being pregnant? Right? Is that just a child that is, in utero already starting to repress?
Yeah, pumped full
Right.
of cortisol for the last 9 months,
Yeah, what like we don't know a lot of what's going on here, and we just because again, and we're based on a symptom treating society.
not even symptom treating, symptom masking, right? A lot of that
Yeah.
Western
Oh
medicine
yeah.
symptom masking, not even symptom treating.
Yeah.
There's like holistic practitioners who are dealing with other things, who are, you know, sometimes like the functional medicine and the nutrition and the hypnosis and the, you know, the deep psychotherapy. Like those are symptom treating.
Yeah, well, and that's it. Well, it's yeah, the root cause treating, right? Because the symptom is like somebody's like, well, I can't sleep, and I'm like, well, that's great, because whatever we're gonna deal with is like, you'll never hear me, like, we'll never work on your sleep, because your sleep is a symptom of whatever's going on.
Yeah, symptom of your stress level, symptoms of your
Right.
nutrition, symptom of your hormonal
Yeah.
balance, is all of those things.
Yeah, you have your needs met. You're walking around blissed out of your mind. You're having orgasms on command. Like, you think you're gonna have a problem sleeping at night? I don't think so.
No.
All right, we'll get, yeah. So we don't even have to touch sleeps, because sleep's a symptom. But yet you go to a doctor and they give you sleeping pills.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you sleep, but you're not dealing with the problem of why you're not sleeping.
So now you're sleeping, but you're going to get cancer next year.
Well, yeah,
whatever.
that's hopefully not, but
Hopefully not, right? But
yeah.
like,
Because I mean, I do believe in sleeping. You know, I mean, I believe in drugs as aids, right? They're there to get you to a certain level to help you move through it.
Yeah.
They're not a solution.
Yeah, they're not a long-term solution, that's for sure.
No. Like, you know,
might
it's
have different philosophies on that too.
well, you know, it's like people who are so caught into like depression, right,
Mhm.
or anxiety,
Yeah.
they may need a little bit of an outside help to kind of get back to that baseline, especially if they've been like, I've worked with people with PTSD and some in depression stuff, and I'm like, you know, take me back to a happy memory, and they're like, I don't even remember one. I'm like, oh shit, like we got to rebuild their emotional structure now, right? And it starts off with, okay, take me to a shitty memory. Now take me to a less shitty memory. Now take me to a less shitty memory. Okay, we're going to call that meh. Right?
Yeah.
So now I have to rebuild their emotional label system, which is good and bad, because now, you know, they're not really predefined or pre-locked into a specific labeling system for their emotions, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a good place where drugs could come in and kind of level them out and just say, okay, how are you feeling? Well, I feel, blah. Perfect. We call this blah. And then we move up from there with the intention of getting them off the meds.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's where medication is great, is when there's a plan.
Yeah.
But if it's just like, hey, take this and let me know when it doesn't work for you anymore, that's not a great plan. I don't approve of that.
No.
But
and where I get passionate about that is like the damage that's caused to the gut lining and the brain, like structure, based on long-term dependence, or even short-term dependence on like antipsychotics, antidepressants, stuff like that. Like,
well, and the idea is if, and it really sucks, because, you know, people like me are not really taken seriously at all in the medical community, period. The moment that they're, you know, they love what I have to say, they love about how my processes work and everything like that, and the moment that they're like, oh, you're not a PhD, oh, right. It's too bad. That was all good stuff coming from a complete crazy person. So I don't think I don't think they think I'm crazy.
It's like, you don't believe that. I don't believe that. A lot of holistic minded people don't believe that. And, you know, I think it's so important to recognize that people are only ever operating from their existing programming.
Yep.
And if your existing programming was, you must go to school, you must get a master's, you must go through your doctor's degree, and you were subjected to abuse and trauma of intense stress through your schooling, which is really, really common. The doctor I was working with when I was dealing with my mental health stuff was like, oh, you know, hypo to hypermania is like kind of just what's expected of doctors. And I'm like, you're telling me like it's like my doctor said that to me.
Wow.
She's like, just so you know, like that's where most people are expected to function. And if you're struggling with that, like maybe you shouldn't be struggling with it, just get used to it, because that's what I had to live with. That's what we all have to deal with. And it's like, so people are operating from the structure and from the ideas that they have been indoctrinated into. And so it's very challenging for doctors unless they've seen that what they're doing isn't getting really results for people,
Yep.
unless they've really seen that there's a breakdown in what they're offering, or unless they, come to it, they're sort of they have to crack that open in order to really be able to see that there are other options. And there's a huge amount of anecdotal evidence that says that things like what you do and what I do are incredibly beneficial to people. They're just not being studied by pharmaceutical industry because you can't make a pill for hypnosis. You can't make a
No.
pill for interchange work. It
Yeah.
doesn't work, and it's not designed to be infinitely profitable because people are stuck on it their whole lives. It's designed to be solving a problem so people don't have to come back and work with us indefinitely, and
Yeah.
that's where the power in it is.
Yeah. And it's and it's upsetting too, because you would need less drug for less time if you had a process. If there was a program in place designed to utilize the effects of the drug and key that into the change work or the reprogramming of the subconscious or the unconscious mind to give us the results, the behavior results that we're looking for.
Yeah.
Right.
And that could be placebo. That could be a placebo pill just as effectively as some of those other pills sometimes.
It could be. Yeah. And it just depends on where that person is at. And I think that the reason that we need such strong drugs is because of the reliance on outside influence, the belief that outside influence is the only way that they're going to get that change. So therefore, the reason that they need such strong drugs to change or to maintain is one, they've been on them for so long. And the reason that they've been on them so long is because the system has failed them, right? By not letting them know all the options that are available to them, so that they can try out what works best for them to get the results that they're looking for. Absolutely. Right? Whether that is, going and meditating for 4 years, buck naked on psychedelics in a cave, or, coming to see me for, an hour every week for 6 weeks, whatever works for them. Right. But they should be given the options. They should be given the education that these exist.
Yeah.
Right. I'm happy to see people and help them even at the bottom of their rope, but it does get a little tiring and wearisome on me.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I really need to help these people. Yeah. And I understand that it's not all about me. It's about them helping themselves. Right. And even though the success rate is good, the pressure, I'd like to work with more people who are, maybe not as advanced as you are, but who are just like, hey, my life is good. And I'm like, great. Let's get your life awesome. Let's get your life wonderful. Right. I'd like to work with, some of those people. Yeah. And, rather than, showing people from the basement up to the first floor, I'd rather show people from the first floor up to the second floor.
Or the 14th floor.
Or the 14th floor is amazing as always. But again, the information is not out there. Yeah. The need, the uncomfortability is not there, right? There's no need or demand for them to, things are normal. They look around, they're like, well, at least I'm not this person. Yeah. Right. And then you have the people who are like, yeah, there's this guy with, the Ferrari, but I don't really need to drive a Ferrari. No, you don't. But you're getting your needs met. Yeah. Well, you're getting all your needs met. You can have some wants. Do you want to drive a Ferrari? Yeah. Let's talk about that. Yeah. Right. It's okay.
Wants met too, as well as needs met. But like you said earlier, until your needs are met, it's trickier to get your wants met because you're still working at that base level of like, how do I get out of the basement?
Right. Exactly. And like I said, it's very rewarding to help these people out of the basement and show them the first floor and show them how powerful they are. And the great thing is by doing that, it takes them a little while to get out of the basement and get there. But once they're on the first floor, they look around, they're like, oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And these people who were in the basement a year ago will be on the second floor, while people who are still on the first floor their entire lives don't ever look above them.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
These people are moving now because they have the tools.
Yeah.
And now it's less about where does society want me or where do I see myself in society, and it's more about where do I want to be.
Yeah.
Right. And these people are happier and they look happier, but they don't appear happier. Right.
Mm.
They're like, well, you're driving a beat up Ford, 89 Toyota Tercel. Yeah, because it's a freaking tank. Right. It great gas mileage. It'll start in like -50 weather. I can get parts for it anywhere. I work on it in my free time, right? I don't have to. I'm fine, right? Oh, because you don't own a new car, you must not be happy. You must be struggling.
Mm. Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, it's like me. It's like I'm
Mm-mm.
in the woods. I'm totally happy about that. I love that I get to squat because guess what? It makes my poop come out better. What a
Squatty potty.
squatty potty.
Squatty potty.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this last weekend I was like, oh, I had indoor plumbing for the first time, and I was like, I really just kind of wish there was a designated place I could go in the woods because it just comes out better, Like, I'm like they got these composting toilets, but like the composting toilets need like squatty potties in order for them
Yeah.
to be really effective.
Yeah.
And I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine.
Like,
Trust me. That you were talking about that, and I was thinking about taking a shit in the bathroom, and I'm like, the bathrooms are kind of a weird place, especially the ones
but we're enculturated.
And I'm just like, that's a very odd place that we just put weird stuff in that little closet. And they used to be called water closets. It makes sense, right? But yeah, it's just it's like, yeah, it's a little weird. A little weird. But we've been doing that since like ancient Greece, right? I think ancient Greeks are the ones who invented plumbing, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. I think so, or like the Romans, Greeks, somewhere in there.
Yeah,
Just
somewhere around there.
the Western world, yeah. But
Yeah.
it's like it. And what happened? What happened is like, oh, indoor plumbing, great, but now we've got like water that's filled with poop and urine, like going into the sewage, going into the streets, causing like the Black Plague because we've got so much stuff. It's like, oh my gosh. I remember in it was like something like Vietnam War. They had to bring all the food in because the farmers would poop in the rice fields, and the rice fields had their own biome that was so toxic to anybody who didn't already have that biome, because there's like a circular loop of connection between like being able to handle whatever's growing in there. And it sounds really gross when I say it, and I'm
No, I get it. I get it.
But it's like, but like at the same time, like so many of the mental health imbalances have to do with our gut imbalances, have to do with a lack of diversity in our gut flora. There's supposed to be something like 2,000 varieties of biome gut, and some people have 4.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because they've been on so many courses of antibiotics and so many series of things. And it's like, oh my gosh, like we need to be in with the animals and their poop. We need to, it grosses me out. Trust me, like I lived behind a barn at some point last year, and I was like, cow poop, so gross. But then I also realized like, oh, like this cow poop is like working its way into my biome, like walking around, getting it on my feet, putting my feet in the house going, and it's like the dog jumps up on the bed. And I'm still working with my gross out around it, and I'm not entirely sure why we're talking about
everything. Well, everything. Yeah, I mean, everything is a biosphere. Yeah. Right. They use horse manure and cow manure in our, in feeding fields.
Yep.
Right. That break all that down and, pull those nutrients up through. So, I mean, there's literally shit in our foods, right? We don't eat it as shit. We eat it as, the minerals and the nutrients that are in that. And, and we have these reclamation facilities where they take all the urine and the poop and the feces out of the water and then reclaim the water and put it back into the, into the food supply. And it's like
full of chemicals that aren't good for us and put it back in our thing. Like I remember reading about, doctors who were like, oh my God, you know how we solve your skin issues? We stop bathing you in chlorine water.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to be said for returning to those sort of natural systems, like returning and reclaiming our human energy, our mammalian nature, instead of sort of these like, I mean, if you look at what's happening in modern society, 2021, we've got such an isolation happening. People aren't even exchanging biomes with each other. Yeah. And it's like, that's a problem because our immunity comes from our experience of being exposed to all of these things and having our immune system handle it.
Yeah. Yeah. This is why people with kids have a lot better immune systems,
Yeah.
because kids are carriers.
Same with pets, same with animals, for sure.
Yeah. 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 And yeah, I mean, everything, everything has to be in balance, right? You can't go one way or too far one way or the other. You have to, know that. And this is another point about taking time for yourself, right? If you are not comfortable and you are not regularly taking time for yourself and checking in with yourself, how do you know where you're at? How do you know what you're doing? How do you know what's going on? How do you know if you're not too far to the left or too far to the right? How do you know, you're not paying attention? You're paying attention to everything but you,
Mm-hmm.
until all of a sudden your body's like, hey, something's fucked up here.
Got some issues.
And you're like, oh shit, what's going on? And it's funny that you should say what you said about the stomach, because I tell people that it's not their heart or their head that rule their emotions, it's their stomach.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's why most people who have like anxiety and depression and all these emotional issues, they have IBS, they have stomach issues, stomach pains, digestive issues, right? You get your emotions under control and those go away. They're symptoms of a bigger problem.
And it's radically simple
Yep.
to do that process that you said about like smoking cigarettes with something like, inflammatory foods. Let's use color dyes as a
Yep.
great example, because that's one that most people won't argue with me about. Everybody gets their choice around dairy and wheat and gluten and all of those other things. Some people's bodies handle it, other people's bodies don't. But the chemicals that are laden into those brightly colored foods are 100% an issue to absolutely every mammalian body on the planet.
Mm.
And there's huge, we were talking about kids earlier, there's a huge section of kids that if you take them off processed sugar and processed colors, their moods change. They become,
Oh yeah.
the ADD disappears.
Yep.
And it's relatively easy to use a tool like NLP or hypnosis to do transformational change work, to make you to remove the programming that says I must eat this. My mom loves me when I eat sugar. I must eat sugar, because it's a treat, it's a candy.
Yeah.
And to be able to come back to a place of balance, it's hard to do there's a lot of things we can do with the mental work. And if we're still putting crap in our bodies, it can be really challenging to still find that homeostasis. And it can be really hard to stop putting crap in our bodies if we're not working with our minds.
Well, yeah. And this goes back to what we were talking about with these kids have these issues. If the parents were, educated, knowledge, and checking in with themselves and putting themselves first.
Yeah.
Right. Because one of the big issues with obesity, with children and with adults, is learned behaviors through parents. So for people like my generation, it was eat everything on your plate. They're starving kids in Africa.
Yeah.
Right. What's happening now with newer generation parents is where does everybody go to celebrate?
I'm not sure. Where do people go to celebrate these days?
Well, they usually go out to a restaurant.
Right.
So they're using food as a reward.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Which creates a belief system that, oh, well, what did I used to do when I was a kid when something good happened or when I felt bad and I wanted to, it's like, oh, you feel bad. Let's go get you an ice cream cone, right? Or we'll go get you ice cream or a cake or something like that. And so now there's,
have some candy, have some whatever.
Yeah. Now there's a belief system that when I feel bad, if I eat this, I feel good. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, food is now an anchor.
Right.
To feel good.
Yeah.
Well, it's not the food that's making you feel good. It's your brain saying, when I eat this, I'm going to feel good.
Yeah.
And so that's the natural response.
Yeah.
Right. So now people grow up and they're like, fuck it. I'm an adult. I pay my taxes and I work hard and everything. If I want to eat a fucking cake all by myself for dinner, I'm going to eat a fucking cake by myself for dinner. Right. And so self-sabotage, they talk themselves into this as being okay.
Yeah.
Right. When really all they needed was some basic tools to say, like, I'm not feeling good right now, and I don't like this. I should be feeling fine. This doesn't make this state that I'm in right now doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
Change my state. What state do you want? Oh, how about after I just got done eating a piece of cake? You don't have to eat the cake to get the state.
No, not at all. In fact, you probably feel better thinking about how you feel after eating the cake than you do after
Yes.
eating the cake. 'Cause you're
Yes,
not
you
feeling
do.
well, you know?
Because you're not giving your power away to get it back, diluting it, right? You're taking control of that power and saying, this is what I want. And when do I want it? I want it now.
Yeah, right now.
Right now. Change the state. How do you feel? Feel great. Perfect. Move on. Right? Very basic tools. And now, how would the child benefit from that? They've got a series now. I think it's on HBO and Crave about Tiger Woods.
Okay.
I've known this forever as a hypnotist. Tiger Woods started seeing a hypnotist when he was a child to learn self-hypnosis, to learn how to control his emotional state,
Right.
to learn how to mentally rehearse his shots, right? To learn all this stuff that made him great.
Yeah.
Why? Because he is in control. Has nothing to do with the clubs. It has nothing to do with the balls. It has nothing to do with anything except him hitting it in a certain way to get the ball to do a certain thing, to go a certain place, a certain distance in a certain way.
And
That's
being able to visualize the ball landing exactly where you want it to land, 400 feet away or whatever, however heck, I'm not tuned into golf at all. So
I think it's like 400 yards, but close enough.
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah, that's more than 400 feet, no?
Oh yeah, way more.
Way more than 400 feet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Clearly I don't watch golf at all.
But see, this is the power of, this goes back to what we were talking about. This goes back to reverse engineering.
Yeah.
Right? He's not sitting there going, how do I get that ball over there? He's saying, where do I need the ball? Where am I right now? And how do I get it over there?
Yeah. And
what needs to happen? And how do I need to make that happen? And he sees himself doing that. And then he goes and does it.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
And he creates an anchor. He anchors that state in. So each and every time he grabs his club, or maybe each and every time he squares himself off with the club, or we don't know what his anchor is. Only he knows what it is, but it could be anything. Could be all of those. Yeah. He could have different states as he's going in.
Yeah,
right?
I bring myself into a state of deep hypnosis so that I know that exactly what it is, so that my body understands that exactly what I have visualized is exactly what the body needs to do. Okay, and now I'm prepping to do the thing. And then every single part of me is aligned with hitting this ball in exactly the place that it needs to be, because I'm going to feel so elated on the other side of hitting it exactly where it needs to be, because I'm going to be better than everybody else. And I'm so happy about it.
That's right.
Like something like that. And that's like, it's totally fine. It's totally fine to talk to yourself in that way, to encourage yourself in that way, and do that kind of process so that you get the outcome you want, whatever that outcome is. You know? I tend to say in alignment with the principles of non-harm, but other people do it for whatever reasons they want, and that's their choice.
Yeah, I mean, you are literally limited by your own limitations and imagination.
And that's it.
And that's it. That's it. The amount of pleasure that we can feel at any one given time is self-limited.
So think about, for any of the ladies who are watching this, because Chris can absolutely help you with this, and I can absolutely help you with this.
Yep.
Recognize that if you're engaging with intimacy with your partner and it feels neutral, okay, like a chore, like something you need to do, or if you're not engaging with your partner because you're scared of being hurt, painful, fear, challenge, whatever that might be, that is absolutely a self-limiting state. I can 100% attest to this because I have done this work myself, and the pleasure that is capable of experiencing through my body, I'm sure through your body as well, Chris.
Oh yeah,
Right? Like,
look
at my face and look at my face when we talk about this. It's like, absolutely, you can experience whatever you want in
Yeah.
terms of pleasure, and it is limitless, and you can continue to peel back those layers of the onion that inhibit you, that stop you from feeling safe to feel that good, that stop you from feeling like it's not okay, or you're not worthy, or you're not deserving. One of my favorite things to do when I hit those upper limits in terms of pleasure specifically in like sexual intimacy, is to remind myself I deserve it. I deserve to feel pleasure. I deserve to feel even more
Yeah.
pleasure. I'm worthy of this pleasure. And you know what happens? It gets stronger. It gets
Yeah.
stronger. I go, oh
Yeah.
my God, I don't know how to handle this. I want to know myself as a woman who understands how to feel this much pleasure. I want to understand myself as a woman who is capable of feeling this much pleasure. And it's just like, wow, like,
Yeah, there is definitely a male satisfaction when a woman is like, okay, hold on.
yeah,
Processing, sense overload.
just hold on. I gotta
I'm like, you take your time. And the great thing is it's a journey,
Mhm,
right? It's
absolutely.
it's instant, but it's a journey to learn how to play with this sensation, how to play with these sensations. Because remember, you're limited only by your imagination,
Yes.
right? So you can try all sorts of different things. So it's wonderful for couples to learn this, right? Because it's a learning experience for both. It requires communication. It requires talking about this. It's just a really, really fun thing to do, and it's literally impossible to get bored in the bedroom, because pleasure states are just like the start of it. And
Mm,
it starts in the bedroom, but it radiates out, right? When
absolutely,
you can
absolutely.
start talking about sex, when you can start talking about pleasure states, when you feel very manly in your role, and you feel very feminine in the role, and you can start talking about these things and helping each other feel those ways, right? Your woman comes home and she's been in meetings all day long, and how to just get her to just melt and just release all that,
Mhm,
right? And she's now grateful, and you feel really good. And when you've had a stressed out day, she comes over and she knows how to push your buttons, and you're just like, yes, okay,
uh-huh,
anything you want, honey. Yeah, take me wherever you want, right? It stems out,
absolutely.
right? And then the looks that you start to give each other, because trust me, I know kinky people, right? And not to say that this is like, overly kinky, but I can tell kinky people because I watch them at like a party or a situation. And when they look at each other and there's a connection, I'm like, whoo, like I get what just happened there. It was a look, but it was an understanding. There was
Mhm,
an unspoken understanding that, yeah, we're the people that we need to be right now, but just wait till I get you back to the car. Like, and I see it, I read it. Language is limited.
yeah,
We communicate because this is kind of what we're taught how to. But when you learn how to read your woman, when you learn how to read your man, you don't even need to really talk about it. You already know. You're just talking to like kind of fine tune,
yeah.
right? And get a little bit of confirmation that you are right. It's like, oh, rough day. You have a rough meeting. Yeah. Ding. I knew that.
Yeah.
Right. I was just confirming it to make myself okay. Now,
Yeah. And it doesn't necessarily have to be, that kinky people.
no.
Kinky people tend to play with the power, dominance, submission sort of energies a bit more, which I
Yeah.
think is where a lot of that juice comes from, and that sort of that like deep connection. But you can
Yeah.
also it doesn't have to include that. But there's this idea of like a simmering sexual connection that is, that transcends physical touch, that includes all sorts of experiences of energetics, of verbal, it includes all of our senses. And
It's play.
yeah,
It's really it's really learning how to let go and play
yeah,
and be physical, be sensual, be fearless,
Yeah.
Be responsible, right?
Yeah.
But it really comes down to play. It really, really does. And pretty much all, like, yeah, what I do is therapy, but the first thing I tell clients when I give them their first assignment is have fun with it,
Hmm.
right? You take it seriously, but have fun, play, experiment, do it, but have fun with it,
Yeah.
because life is meant to be enjoyed.
Absolutely.
Right. And if you look at changing yourself to the way that you want to be, the way that you aspire to be, right? And you look at that as work,
Mm.
why would you want to do it? And this is another reason why I attach, a really good feeling to these things. I
Yeah.
want people to start looking forward to putting in the work. I don't want people to be like, oh, I got to go downstairs and I'm in my basement, I got to work out, right? It's like, well, you want to lose weight, right? So you got to feel good about it, have fun with it, see where you're going, and all this other stuff. And I know we're talking about sexuality and orgasms and stuff like that, but it all plays a part. Everything is tied and connected. And when you are simmering at a party because your partner, says that, the longer that you and I are apart, the more your body is going to ache for me, right? And then you just sit there and you're like, oh, I'm gonna go get a drink and talk to some of my friends over here and just see how long she can, until she's like stuck to your hip again. You're like, that was interesting. Fun. This is fun stuff, right? And she's like, just, hi guys, can I borrow him for a second? Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all about fun. It's all about enjoying the life that we're given to have. And I think far too many people are taking this way too seriously, and they're losing that, right? That childlike curiosity and playfulness is being stripped away from us, and we're all being forced into this survival mode. And it's
We
like
can
any
absolutely claim it back.
yeah, like any state, we're not meant to stay in a state for a long period of time. Somebody posted on Facebook that their 17-year-old daughter said, I don't quote me on this, but she said, if you are sad for more than 15 minutes, it's self-inflicted.
Uh-huh. Absolutely.
Pretty sure that's what she said. And
Absolutely.
her mom was like, I don't really know about that. And I said, look, if you're not changing it, you're choosing it.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
So after about, I don't know about the time, 15 minutes, it's all right. So if you're sad for 15 minutes, that's enough time for you to be like, I'm sad.
Notice it and then choose to do something about it.
Right. So if
So,
you're not choosing to do something about it, you're choosing to keep it.
yeah.
So if you're not changing it, you're choosing it, which means now it is self-inflicted, because now it's a choice to stay there.
Yeah.
Right.
So, wow. Ugh.
And yeah, interesting stuff. And I'm like, 17, huh? I'm like, she's gonna be, yeah, if she holds on to that and really truly believes it and understands it, she's gonna be a fun person, right?
Yeah.
Fun people, they smile more, right? Their air is lighter about them, their energy is lighter, because they have learned how to enjoy life. They're self-entertained, right? They laugh more, they find, humor in more things. And that might be difficult for people in their current situation, right? But if you work with somebody to overcome that,
Yeah.
your life will become lighter, right? These things will become, less heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's absolutely, absolutely possible.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a really great place to wrap
Yeah, it
up.
is. Yeah, it is.
I'm super, super, super glad for your time today, Chris. Thank you for staying longer than what we had originally intended, and
Absolutely. I love talking to
diving
you.
in, diving into so many topics.
Yeah.
I'd love to have some email correspondence at some point about maybe doing a course for people who are looking to, joygasm their sex life with your assistance and my assistance.
Yeah, singles, couples, it really doesn't matter because everybody can learn this.
Absolutely.
And couples, it's a little different. So I mean, we could do it for singles, we could do it for couples, because couples, somebody kind of has to learn how to, not really. I would make it work. We make it work. Like I said, all of this stuff is literally a limit of your imagination. And my imagination was like, don't even worry about it. We can do it. And I was like, cool.
Yeah.
And I believe it too. I believe myself.
Absolutely. So, once Chris and I have figured out some details of that, because it does feel like something that will be really juicy and fun for us to do, we'll make sure that those details are available to people. And thank you to everybody who has joined in as part of the membership and gotten to listen all the way to the end of this experience. And super, super grateful. And thank you again, Chris, for being on the show today. I absolutely adore our conversations. You continue to expand my mind and remind me that my own limitations are my own limitations and I can crack out of them at any time.
Yeah, we went from the bedroom to the bathroom to the outhouse to the barn to Vietnam. We went all over the place today. It was just a whirlwind of travel today, which was awesome. I absolutely love our conversation. So anytime, and have a great week.
Yeah, thank you. I will have a fantastic week, and you too have a great week. And thank you so much for everybody who's here listening.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you.
How easily can you imagine that this experience is integrated already deeply into every cell of your being in such a way that you will begin to notice that you have already been operating from this new behavior for a while, and that it was simply a matter of noticing how much you've already been doing this. You may choose to feel that this moment is the moment that completely and utterly into your body. Or in the days and weeks ahead, getting curious about how fully and completely this experience has transformed your life. Realizing that you are a complete choice to choose how you would like to integrate this information into every cell of your being.